Do you wonder about past lives? Have you ever thought about where your soul has been, where it's going, or what lessons and memories have been gathered along the way? In this podcast, we will discuss past life memories, psychic phenomena, energy healing, and other metaphysical topics with experts and the average person to find out how we can heal through these experiences. So I invite you to join me on my journey. Welcome to the Regression Session. After this stupid airplane flies over my house, I want to move so bad. Welcome back to the Regression Session. My name is Ian, and welcome to the Regression Session. For any first-time listeners, thanks for tuning in. Before we get into the episode, definitely don't forget to subscribe in your podcast player so you don't miss a single one of my weekly uploads. And also don't forget to share the podcast with everyone you know so that we can grow. It's been kind of hard for me to stay on top of posting to my Instagram, my Facebook page, my Facebook group, all that stuff ever since I had COVID. Kind of wiped me out for a little while. I'm still trying to get back on top of things. But you can definitely check out those social medias if you want more Ian in your life. I'm trying to get back on top of posting daily. Now, for this week's episode, I talk with Kate, and Kate is an aspiring past life regression hypnotist who started off at a young age having dreams that she perceives as past life memories come through in her sleep. And in this episode, I talk with her about those dreams, and I also talk with her about things like what makes you think that you can become a past life regression hypnotist, what makes you interested in it, what's the point of even doing it. So if you're an aspiring past life regression hypnotist, this should be helpful to you so that you can think about these questions as well, because they're important to ask. If you want to come onto the podcast to talk with me about your past life experience or any metaphysical topic, shoot me an email. My email is theregressionsession@gmail.com. Now my conversation with Kate. Hey Kate, thanks for coming on to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, I'm really excited to talk to you. It's been a minute since I've had someone come on to talk about their experiences because people are shy. So anyone out there who's thinking about it, just do it. Reach out to me. Now, Kate, just for some background about you and your beliefs, if you don't mind, whatever you're comfortable sharing about your belief systems growing up and then kind of where you're at now in the journey that you took to get there, that would be fantastic.
Okay. So I guess I'll just start by saying my name is Kate. I live in Massachusetts. I'm 23 years old. For a very long time, since I was about 16, I have been on my own personal spiritual journey. I really believe in reincarnation. I believe in past lives. I am an aspiring past life regression hypnotherapist. I don't do any work in the field currently, but I would honestly love to have that as a career just because I am so interested in the topic. I've gone to many past life regression therapy sessions where I've learned about my own past lives. I've had many dreams that tell me about my past lives. I've had them since I was a kid. So I think I don't really have much of a religion, but just as I've gone on in life and seeing what I really believe in, that's kind of how I made up my belief system and stuff. If that makes sense. So I hope that helps and kind of gives you a little more about me.
Yeah, it's great. Except for the stupid airplanes again. They're always flying over my house. I'm so sick and tired of it. I wish I could delete the airport. So now I got to sit here I'm not even going to cut it out. My audience, if I have to deal with it, my audience is going to have to deal with it too. Anyway, so I've noticed a lot of people your age, 22, 23, are, oh my God.
It's an airplane.
Dude, it's so bad. I'm definitely going to cut this out though, for real. Okay. So I've noticed a lot of people your age, like 22, 23, like maybe 24.
Oh, yeah.
Have kind of, I hate using this term, like woken up, but there's like not really another term that I found. I'm going to find one, term, but like woke up, I guess.
Yeah.
Like there's like this big in your age group, and then it kind of skips a lot of my age group, like 26 to 35. Like they're just kind of sucked into their own little, I got to go to work and stuff. And then, then the people after that, like the 40s, they're, and onward, they're kind of like, a lot of people are coming into this new age belief system.
Yeah.
It's just very interesting, especially because a lot of people are like, I want to be a past life hypnotherapist that I've talked to.
Yeah.
And why is that? Like, what makes you want to be a past life hypnotherapist? What makes you think you can be a past life hypnotherapist?
I personally believe that it's one of the coolest topics I've ever seen, to be honest with you. I mean, I've gone down such a rabbit hole since I like I said, since I was 16. I think I said I was 23, but I actually just turned 24, so I don't know why I said I was 23, but I'm actually 24. But yeah, I've just done a lot of research on it, and as time went on, and I would do like regular jobs that wouldn't really mean anything to me, you know what I mean? Like working at a store, like working at a daycare, that stuff didn't like click with my soul, if that makes sense. But one of the things that does is past lives. So, and there's not many jobs to go with that other than past life, regression and stuff. And honestly, I would really love to do it just so I can hear people's stories and just to see, like, hear what they have to say. Because if it's not my own, I would love to hear other people's, and why not do something you love as a career and all that type of stuff. So
I get you. So like that may have been a harsh and unfair question. Like what makes you think that you can become one? Because I am one, kind of.
Yep.
And it's so like, what's the purpose? Like why, besides just like wanting to go through and hear people's stories and stuff and thinking it's cool, do you think that there's like an overall mission for it, or is that it?
Oh yeah, of course. I definitely think that exploring your past lives can help you in this life for sure. I think there's a lot of problems that you may have gone through in your past lives, a lot of karma that you might bring into this life. So, and you might have some type of issues that you're dealing with this life, but maybe you want to explore what happened in your past life and see why you're going through that in this life, if that makes sense. And it can even come down to family members that you've had in other lifetimes that are in this lifetime, and relationships and all that stuff. So I feel like it's all connected in a way, and it can really help you understand your life journey and life path in this lifetime.
I'm all about it. I'm just giving you a hard time. It's I when I first started doing it, it was all about like proving that it was real.
Yeah.
Right? Like proving that we have past lives. Now that I've done it so often and so many times, it's more like I just want to help people figure their shit out. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
I want to help people, regardless of whether or not it is real, okay? It's still a real experience. And for skeptics out there, if you have a past life experience in a regression, and then you feel better after the fact, then why does it matter if it's real or not? If you feel better, even if it's just your subconscious making stuff up,
Mm-hmm.
it shouldn't be that big of a deal of whether it's real or not.
Are you talking about like if like I personally were to go get a therapy session done and see my past life and I felt better, and are you talking about like other people might not believe it, that type of thing?
Yeah, so like
Yeah,
there's some I have some skeptics that listen to this show.
yeah,
And they're just hard skeptics, and they listen because I take a pretty practical approach. And
mm-hmm.
there's some of them that have actually changed their mind because of the openness. Like a lot of them are against past life hypnotherapy because they
Yep,
think it's unethical. And that's actually a big stance on past life hypnotherapy and past life regression. They think it's actually unethical. A lot of people do because
yep,
they think that you're giving people delusions.
yeah,
And but my stance on it is if it's helping people, then what's the problem here?
yeah. I feel like a lot of the times people, that's kind of a touchy subject because it's like I don't want to say people want to like make everybody believe what they believe in. I don't think that should be the case at all. I feel like if something feels good to you, something feels right to you, something's helping you, then that should be your own experience. You know what I'm saying? Um, and just kind of being like, whatever I believe in, that's not gonna change if I have my own experience. Like that's what I believe. You know what I mean? Like everybody's different. You know what I'm saying? Um, so not everybody's gonna believe the same thing, but I do totally agree with you that there are a lot of skeptics out there who might not see it if that's not their cup of tea. I'm just kind of like, well, it's mine. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Well, even
Like,
people like in this um gosh, I don't even know what to call it, in the niche of past life regression.
mhm.
Not everybody even believes the same thing about it at all anyway.
Right. I've heard a lot of people being like, "Well, I believe in it, but I feel like it's a little more different." As in, like, if you were to die and like you weren't a good person on this life, maybe God would be like, "Well, you have to live life as a monkey first before you're able to come into my kingdom." I've heard people say stuff like that to me about different lifetimes and stuff, but there's also, and when I was going on my like own research, doing my own research, I really truly believe nobody thought like me. But you have TikTok, right? I'm assuming
Yeah.
you do. Well, TikTok literally has anything and everything you can. And so I would like research. I'd even type in past life on TikTok. And every single thing that I would see would be every single thing that I learned through research. And that was just so crazy to me to have the realization that there's a group of people out there in the world that have researched A, the same thing as me, B, say exactly the same things I would say if I was trying to teach somebody about it. You know what I mean? So it's more of like a community thing, which was very interesting to me because I was like, I really think I'm alone on this. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure, yeah, you know what I'm saying? So that was pretty interesting to see that for sure. But I've heard, yeah, a lot of things.
Yeah, the validation is great. You know,
Yeah.
when you start doing past life regressions to people and you're just kind of like, man, what am I doing? Am I messing with people's heads here? And then all of a sudden they say something that's historically validated.
Right. Yeah.
And then they're like, yeah, I don't even, I had no idea about that. I've never learned about that. And, you know, skeptics will come up with things like, oh, that was just cryptomnesia, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, I've talked to people who were in different countries, different continents who had memories of, like vivid memories of being like a Native American or like a tribal person in Africa or whatever, right?
Mhm.
So where would they get that information?
Right.
That's my question. So you have been telling me that you have had some very interesting dreams about past lives.
Hmm.
I would like to hear about those if you
Okay.
don't mind talking about them.
Yeah. Do you want me to start from the very beginning or recently?
Whatever makes the most sense to you, whatever you want to share, because I know that that's the reason originally why we were talking. But
Right.
I'm just interested in these dreams because they, they can come through. Like I've even talked to people who had dreams about things and then they Googled it and it turned out to be real and they had never
Yeah.
heard about it before. So I'm just interested in your dreams because I've had a few people come on my show where they're like, God, I've been having these crazy ass dreams and I
Mhm.
don't know what they mean, and I'm not like a dream interpreter or anything. I just find it
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. So I think I'll start off before when I was like maybe 4 or 5 years old. Because that's like really the one dream that I feel like put me into like this whole thing because it's a dream that I'll forever remember. So when I was about 4 or 5 years old, I was in the room that I'm currently living in now, and I was sleeping, and I just had this dream of me being a little girl. It felt like I was in the early 19 like 90s, like so not too early but not too late. So like maybe about 1990 to like latest 1994. I had a dream that I was parked in a driveway. So I saw the van go park in the driveway. I heard the front door open up and a man got out of the car, slammed the door shut. He came over to my side where I was on. So I was on the left side. He opened the door and I got out. So I got out of the car. I looked down and I have these like white fancy socks on. So I was definitely a little girl and I had these white shoes on and I was wearing a dress. And there was like a wooden staircase. So I walk up the staircase with this guy. And in my head, I was just kind of like, this guy is dangerous. I had very iffy feelings about him. Like he was just probably like an abusive figure, if that makes sense. Like he just wasn't a good guy. So I go up to we walk up. I go up to the door. It's a yellow door, and there's like a glass door in front of it. So he pulls it open. There's um, a few little designs on the door, but it was mostly yellow from what I can remember. And like I said, I just had like this whole he is not a good man. And then I woke up in a panic. And as I was waking up, I remember, and I'll never forget this, I said, this is not my house anymore, and these are not my parents. And so when I woke up, I was just like in a complete panic, and it felt like, you know what I mean? And me remembering saying that like out loud, this is not my house anymore. These are not my parents. In the future, when I remembered that dream, I was like, that I associated that right away with past lives. So that's kind of where it all started. And I was a very big dreamer when I was a kid. And there are so many dreams that I have had when I was a child that I still remember to this day. And I feel like I've always been more spiritual since I was that young. And honestly, the more that I've researched this, the more I've come to realize that that dream was probably the most recent past life I've had. Um, just because I feel like, and I've always felt this way too. I'm really young. I'm 24, but for the longest time, I've always like kind of fit in with like feeling like I was mentally 27, if that makes sense. Like I always felt like I was more a millennial than I am like the generation I am. And I feel like that has to do with potentially dying that young. So maybe like I was supposed to be a millennial born in the 1990s and stuff like that, but I was born in 98. And I honestly feel like I only lived a few years in that dream. So that's very like interesting that when I think about it. Um, and yeah,
So what
so
makes you think that that was not just the dream of an overactive imagination as a child?
because it felt real. Um, and and like I said, I have had dreams where I feel like it was like over active imagination, but that one was just kind of so like it was like a memory almost. It was like I've lived this before, and like just the panic I woke up in, you know what I mean? Like, and it was a house I never seen before, and I was pretty young too. And
So, like that, in order to differentiate this, how do you normally experience a memory? So if I asked you right now to close your eyes and
Mhm.
pull up a memory from your childhood, how would you experience that? Like, just describe that to me real quick. Just if you don't want to, you don't have to, but it's just kind of like,
Yeah.
if you don't mind indulging me for a second.
Yeah, so I mean, I could have the same type of memory like when I was young walking up the staircase of my actual house. Like I feel like memories and dreams, cuz I feel like my dreams will just be like crazy and crazy. But I never like I don't really know how to explain it. That's a good question though, because it's like it's very hard to differentiate. But I feel like just like in like knowing in your heart, or like just like having that feeling that it's something different just than just like a crazy dream that you had when you were a kid. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just like a feeling that I have.
So it comes
That I
down to intuition then. Like
Yeah,
you
exactly. Yeah.
sense that that was a past life recall and not just you having anxiety
Yeah.
as a child.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause it in the because I don't have awful parents in this lifetime, but in that dream it just felt like I was in danger, but I actually have like a really good foundation, and you know what I mean? Like so it was two completely different feelings that I experienced. And like I said, I guess intuition is just my answer. If that makes sense. Like I truly believe that is my first past life memory, that it was my most recent life, and that it still like having that memory years later, still being able to talk about it, that is definitely a big indicator to me that it probably meant something more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. I'm just asking some hard questions, you know.
Yeah. No, you're
I'm
good.
just being a bit of a douche. But but you know, I mean, I personally have had very vivid dreams as a child that I still remember to this day too. So, I don't know. It's weird because we don't even really know what dreams are. Like they say they do.
An example of having the dream that wasn't necessarily a past life memory, but having a dream as a child that might have just been like over imagination. Like I can definitely tell you the difference between that for sure, because I remember some of those.
Okay, good. Well, I mean, it's I think it's important to kind of keep ourselves in check sometimes too. Because there's like a few different camps when we look at this whole past lives thing. You know what I mean? It's like you've got the camp that's like, "Oh, everything is okay." You know what I mean? Like everything that we do has to do with the metaphysical. And then there's people that are like, "Oh no, you can't really prove any of that." And then there's the kind of the people in the middle like me where it's like, "Yeah, that probably was a past life dream."
Right.
As long as you're keeping checks and balances and saying like, okay, I think I can tell the difference
Right,
between
exactly.
a memory and a dream.
Exactly. I feel like as time goes on, you're definitely, and you're more aware of it, or you kind of have to think like, was that just something my imagination was making up in the moment when I was sleeping and I remember it, or was it something a little more deep? You know what I'm saying? Like, so you definitely have to be able to differentiate the two.
Yeah, and that's all I'm saying. And for anybody out there who has past life dreams and is kind of questioning it, just ask yourself like, what's the difference in my own existence or like in my own consciousness? Can I tell the difference between a dream and a memory? And then you start to kind of
Exactly.
cut those up and be like, okay, because I know that there's a lot of people out there, more than they will admit publicly, that have past life dreams and stuff. And that's just one way that you can do it. Like, what's the difference? And then just start cutting it up that way. So, what other dreams have you had, Kate? I'm super interested because that's interesting, and that was just like a little snippet of a little life. Hey everyone, I'm interrupting the episode to tell you all about my Patreon campaign. I love doing this podcast, and it is amazing to hear from people telling me how much they love it too. It takes a ton of time and effort to keep producing content every single week for you guys, and I would love to put out even more for everyone to enjoy. By subscribing to a tier in my Patreon campaign, you can help support the show, provide more episodes, bonus episodes, behind-the-scenes content, and just extra content in general. So if you enjoy the show and you feel it's worth your time listening and would like to contribute, you can go to patreon.com/theregression-session. There's also a link in the description. Thanks so much for the support. I could never do this show without each and every one of you. Now back to the episode.
So like that was like a very short-lived dream. But I mean, I've had like longer lasting past life dreams, and then I've had like really short ones, kind of like that one. The only thing that I do when I have like shorter ones is I kind of let my intuition fill in the gaps of what I believe. And that usually does kind of help me a little bit. But a longer lasting dream I've had was one time I had a dream. And it took me, and when I was dreaming this, it actually did take me a little while to recognize that this was a past life memory, because this was like the first one that I've had since that one, and since the one I just talked about when I was a kid. That was the first actual one, and then everything after that, I just kept getting more and more and more. So this one, I was actually a young girl, and I was in the woods, and I was just walking in the woods, and I believe that I went somewhere to get something for my mother and my sister. I can't really tell you, like, I feel like it was more like native kind of. I can't really say like exactly who I was. I didn't get like that much of an answer, but I just kind of saw myself. I was walking in the woods, and I got back to my house, and my house was like really small. It was like very wooden. It was just definitely very like different than what I'm like used to. And when I got there, I saw two women. It was another woman who was, I considered my mother. She had short hair. She was very frail, very like, I don't know, very like skin and bones. Like she didn't look that healthy, if that makes sense. But I could just feel the love between us, because she asked me when I got back, she said, "How was your journey, my love?" Like something like that. It was like, "How was your journey?" And I remember saying something like, "I would do this all over again just for you." Like it was a crazy journey, but I would do it just because I love you. You know what I mean? So it was like that. And she hugged me. And when she was hugging me, I definitely felt the love between us, but it was the same thing as my first past life dream when I was like, this isn't my mother. But I could feel the love, if that makes sense. So it was like the love was there, but it didn't feel like it was my mom. It just felt like I had to like acknowledge the love that this woman had for me at one point in my life, in a lifetime. And so I was hugging her, and then I had a little sister who was maybe like 12, right beside her. And so I started hugging her too, and I was telling her how much I loved her. And they were like, "All right, let's go into the house." So in this dream, I believe that I ended up stealing something from somewhere. And so maybe like a little while goes by, and there's people at the door knocking on the door. And they start, going crazy on us. They're like, "Oh, we're going to take you away, blah, blah, blah." And I honestly feel like it was in a completely different language, but I was just like understanding what was being said. Like I could just like understand everything. And this is like kind of the weird part, because in the dream, my sister and my mother, they ended up getting sprayed in the face with some type of like pepper spray or something like that. And the interesting thing is I was like hiding. So they didn't find me, but they got my mother and sister and they pepper sprayed them and they took them off. And then So I was left in the house and I was freaking out because I was like, I cannot open my eyes. I can't open my eyes because if I open my eyes, then the pepper spray that's in the air is going to get into my eyes and I won't be able to see. And so what I did was I kept my eyes closed. I walked to the back room where the sink is, and I ended up like using some type of dish soap to like wash myself off, whatever. And then I ended up just waking up after that. So then I thought that dream was kind of weird because I was like, that just didn't seem like it was like my lifetime. You know what I mean? Like it just felt like completely different people. It felt a little weird. So I started doing some research and I ended up looking up something about pepper spray. And something just told me, it was like, look up what to do if you get pepper sprayed. And one of the main things that pops up on Google is if you get pepper sprayed, wash with dish soap. Sorry, I can't talk. Dish soap, which I thought that was like very, very strange because like I really had no idea. So I kind of came to the conclusion that just based on the feelings I had with the first dream that I talked about, and like also this dream, that it was probably another past life memory that I had that was unlocked for me, which I thought was pretty interesting.
So what were the takeaways from those dreams? Like, how did they affect you in your life? Because if you're having past life memories according to the more spiritual side of this field, then you're remembering them for a reason, and you chose to remember them. I mean, like, I don't necessarily always believe. I kind of flip-flop between like being all in and being a skeptic. But if we're going to take the position of being all in, like, what was the takeaway? How did that help you, those memories or those imprints? How did that help you in your life or affect you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I don't want to say that I like struggle with. I don't even, that's a good question because a lot of the time it was just like the same type of theme. Like I don't even know if it was like even a meaning to like see that dream. I personally believe that it was more to understand that I'm having these dreams and like maybe I should pay more attention to them, if that makes sense. And maybe pay more attention to like the same type of themes that are in there, like recognizing that this person was a soulmate in this lifetime, but they're not somebody in this lifetime. Like, you know what I mean? Just recognizing those type of things. I mean, I don't necessarily think until recently that I've had an actual past life dream unless I've done like hypnosis to get some answers to understand what I'm going through. I don't think those dreams really had anything significant until like recently that I've been having dreams like that. Like the dreams that I have like posted online on a forum, those are more of the dreams that are starting to mean something to me, that are starting to make me understand a little more about this lifetime and a little more about myself. But I mean, I can talk about like some of the hypnosises I've done like in person that have given me some actual clues as to like what's going on in this lifetime.
Yeah, if that's something that you want to share, you definitely go for it.
Yeah. So maybe when I was like 18, I want to say, yeah, 17, 18, I did my first regression. And those were actually really interesting. So I did those and she had me regress back to 2 lifetimes. So as I was doing it, she brought me through the process, whatever. And it was actually like on 2 different spectrums. So one of them was me being like very, very poor. The other was me being very rich and in like I was living in a kingdom. So the first lifetime, I believe I was in the Great Depression era. I was very poor. I don't really like remember a lot of it. I just remember that I was able to recognize people from this lifetime and that lifetime. Like I recognized my cousin, who was actually my brother in that lifetime. And I was just like going through life, just like kind of miserable. Like that lifetime just felt like just miserable, like to say the least. Like I just wasn't happy, but I wasn't happy in the sense of like, I was able to live well, but I understood in that lifetime that having love was one of the most important things. And I was able to like connect with my family members in that lifetime and, you know what I mean, have relationships with them that meant more than just money, 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 if that makes sense. And I ended up dying of some type of illness. And I was pretty young in that lifetime too when I passed away. Maybe I want to say like 16, 17. But I lived that life in like I lived that life in an understanding that it's not all about money. That was like the biggest lesson that I've had in that lifetime. And in this lifetime, that really does make sense because I am somebody that is not all about money. Like I don't need money. I mean, everybody needs money, but I don't need money to feel happy or to feel like, you know what I mean? Like I don't need it. It's not everything to me. And I'm not greedy with it. That's something that I really learned this lifetime. I'm not greedy with money. Like I'll do things for people. Like I don't have to like keep it all to myself, if that makes sense. And I feel like that was a very interesting lifetime as well. But in the second lifetime that she regressed me back to, I was actually a total different gender. It was like totally different. It was like the complete opposite. Like I was a king in this like kingdom, or like I was like waiting to become a king. And this whole lifetime was just kind of messy in a way. It had to do a lot with like relationships and stuff. Like I know that for a fact I was a king and like, or I was like a step below a king. I was waiting to get in line, but my dad, who I actually recognized as my mom's brother in this lifetime, he was very, very strict with me, very difficult to get along with, very, just like we didn't mesh well. And in this lifetime, I could understand that I was a lot different than everybody else. Like I still believed in love. I still, just because I was rich, I didn't like really care about that title. I wanted more. I wanted to feel more, you know what I mean? And I had this like mean wife who was just so awful, and I just could not stand her. I did not love her. She was like the last person on earth that I loved in this lifetime. And I remember like I was like almost being like forced to like come together with her, and I just did not want to. But there was actually just somebody that I loved, and she was like very much below us. Like she was not on the same level as us. She was not like in the same category as like, you know what I mean? Like she was like below us. And I was in love with her, and I wanted to be with her more than anything else. And I feel like the news got out because I don't think I was being very secretive about it. I don't think I was being very quiet, but like somehow, some way the news got out, and the wife that I couldn't stand, she actually sent her away to get tortured and like experiment. So it was like more of like the medieval times, I feel like. So she got sent away, and I was just so angry and so upset. So I ended up having 6 children with this woman, like the wife that I couldn't stand. I ended up having a few kids with her. And then all of a sudden I was just in a period of like where I was laying on a bed. I was a very old age. And I remember like all my kids were around me, and I was just telling them, I was like, there's more to life than just being like the richest, most powerful person. I'm like, I think I was telling them, I was like, make sure you love as much as you possibly can. And that's like the last thing I remember before I was, I came out of the regression. So those two lives definitely impacted me because I see a lot of that in this life. Like, first of all, money isn't everything. And to just like overall love who you love. You know what I mean? So those were very important lessons I learned.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
I always, whenever I do regressions, I always try to find the bigger lesson.
Right. Yeah. hmm I think I was just curious. I think that was even before I really recognized that this was going to be a major theme in my lifetime. Like, this was, like I said, I went there when I was like 16, 17, 18, around that time frame. And that was when I was just first starting to really dive into it. So I guess I just wanted to know more for myself. I wanted to see if I would have anything, because I've also gone to like a lot of psychics in my lifetime because I'm like I said, I'm very spiritual, and that's something I used to do a lot. I would go to tarot card readings, I would go to medium psychics just to see if they had answers for me. And sometimes every once in a while I would go and they'd bring up something about a past life. So I'd be like, oh, can you tell me a little more about it? Like, whatever. And they would, but like I had a hard time believing them because, you know what I mean? I've been able to differentiate somebody who's actually gifted and somebody who's more of a scam, if that makes sense. So I had to really just like learn for myself and just like try to figure it out on my own and see like what I could gain from going on my own. And you know what I mean? Just actually letting somebody do it to me and not be like, oh, like this is what I see for you. Like, I wanted to see it for myself. If that makes sense.
Yeah, you said something really interesting. You said that you were able to differentiate between someone who's actually gifted and someone who's scamming people.
Right.
That's not as harsh as I would be. I call those people charlatans, the scammers.
Yeah. Well,
So
you
so
you
how
just
can
learn.
you?
I think definitely for sure. I mean, it's like little things, but definitely one of them is if they don't have set times, but they have a huge price. Like, if they're like, oh, it's $100 for me to give you a reading, and I'm like, well, how long is the reading? They're like 10 minutes. Like, that is like 100% absolutely not. You know what I mean? They have to have like at least an hour offering for $100 for me to like at least believe that they're a little more. Also, reviews. Also, I'll start off very, very slow. Like, I'll do like the lowest rating they have at the lowest time before I even decide to go back to them. Um, and honestly, I have to tell you, and this is like kind of like crazy to even say, but back in that time frame when I was going to psychics, I maybe blew about like over $1,000 going to psychics because I just wanted to know the answer to literally everything. So like, and maybe out of all those psychics I've ever been to, there was only one person that has ever predicted anything and that I'm still actually going through what they said that I was going to go through, which everything is lining into place. And there was only one person out of maybe I don't even know how many that I've gone to. And so after all that, I realized that I don't even want to go to psychics anymore. I think I would rather just open my own third eye and just use my own intuition and go off of that, if that, you know what I mean? And that's what
Yeah.
I've been doing.
I I have a hard time with psychics myself personally. I can't tell
Yeah.
you how many ever since I opened my Instagram account and started farting around on there, I've had a million, and they always message you at the same line. They're like, "Good morning, Starshine," or whatever. They're like, "Hello, my lovely darling."
Yeah, you can just tell. You can tell because, like, in a lot of psychics, they'll be like, you'll bring out the person that maybe you're wondering about, and like that's your soulmate. Like, there's no and ifs or buts about it, and then they end up not being who you think they are to you. They end up, you know what I mean? Like, you kind of have to use your intuition. You kind of have to, like, I don't know. I think a real psychic would just be able to tell you, just, without wanting clues, without wanting anything to like fill in the gaps. I think a real psychic would just be able to look at you and be like, this is what you're going through in life, telling you the hard truth and not like sugarcoating it and making it sound like you're gonna be in a gingerbread house with this person, or you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, there's a lot of charlatans out there, and they they really bug me because they really take away from the credibility of people like me who are actually in it to
help people,
to heal people.
Yeah.
Credibility, they take away from the credibility of a lot of the people I've had on this show, because people have a tendency to focus on the one bad thing or the one charlatan instead of the 100 real
exactly
people.
Yeah, because there are truly gifted people out there, and you know what I mean. And I think everybody has their own intuition that they should, not that they should, but if they wanted to, they would be able to open that up and figure it out for themselves. I mean, that was my problem. I would just go to a lot of people instead of actually like working on myself to open that up. And when I was like 19, that's when I really, really started. And now in this time, people honestly ask me, it's crazy, like, are you psychic? And I'm like, no, like, well, like, I don't know. Like, I'm just like, I practice my intuition so much. Like, I practice for myself that like, I can kind of just see when things are coming, if that makes sense, just because I practiced it for so long. But I don't like go out there and like, oh, you have to pay me $50 for me. Like, I'm not like that. You know what I mean? Like, I'll try to help people as much as I can using my intuition, but I don't do it for like a price, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
so
that totally makes sense. So
yeah,
one thing I'll ask you before we kind of wrap up here is, do you have any advice for my audience or any message that you'd like to leave before we kind of wrap it up?
Yeah. Honestly, if you are thinking like, I think I want to say that everything happens for a reason. First of all, I feel like the universe definitely has your back. Just there's a lot of things in this world. And if you're wondering, like, am I the spiritual person? Do I have intuition? Like, you definitely do. And if you want to like learn more about it, open your third eye, I feel like you should totally go for it and just see what works for you. You know what I mean? As for past lives, if you're feeling like you want to see more about that, I would definitely meditate on it. I would definitely, try to open that up for you. And if you can't, definitely just, go dive more into it, go see a regressionist, go, I think there's a lot of things that we can do to help ourselves when it comes to spirituality and all that stuff. So I would just say go for it. You know what I mean? Dive as deep as you can into it and just see where it gets you.
Well, thank you so much, Kate, for coming onto my show and sharing your experiences, sharing your perspectives. I really appreciate it. It's very interesting to talk about dreams and all that stuff with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I had a lot of fun.
That's it for today's episode. I would like to thank Kate for coming on to the show, and I would also like to thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe in your podcast player so you don't miss any of my weekly uploads. And like I said earlier, don't forget to share the podcast with everyone you know. If you want to come on the podcast, shoot me an email. We can talk about your past life experiences. We can talk about your metaphysical knowledge or whatever. I'm happy to have you. Shoot me an email. Like I said, my email is theregressionsession@gmail.com, and I would love to have you on the show. Ugh. It seriously makes me want to punch myself in my own face for buying this house. See, I wish I could move, but the housing prices are just so it's absurd. They're like $500,000 to $600,000 here. I don't got that kind of money. I don't make that much from my podcast.